What's up guys, hope you're having a good day. In this video we are going to be going over all of our bets from last weekend to see how we did, looking at our profit and loss, looking at our winners, our losers, and to be honest with you, giving ourselves a bit of a pat on the back because we've been doing tremendously well over the last year. 2021 has been fantastic so far, and obviously last weekend was another huge night for us to keep this helicopter season going. Also want to remind you guys that on Friday night, just after the Turkey versus Italy game in the Euros, we will be cracking open these UFC Prism debut edition hobby boxes. Big shout out to everyone that's bought a pack into these box breaks. I can't wait to crack them open. We're going to be doing it Friday night, 11 p.m. UK time, which is roughly going to be... Obviously, the next box break is on sale. We're almost sold out, actually. But we're going to do the UFC Prism this Friday, 11 p.m. British time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And if you want to buy into the next box break after that, of course, this one is sold out. We're doing UFC Topps Chrome in July for that Poirier-McGregor fight. But anyway, let's get into how we performed last week. So we'll start strong. Let's start off with the pre-fight bets. So if we take a look at how we performed in pre-fight betting, we could see that we absolutely smashed it last week. Like, what can you say, man? Like, smashed it. Like, almost a flawless night, right? It is obviously worth noting that these profitability charts haven't been updated yet. I update them once a month, or I don't actually update them. And my good friend Hiltsy updates them for me. So these profitability charts aren't updated yet. But we did do rather well last weekend, which means they will have taken a little bit of a jump. Obviously, here we say that the profit and loss charts are updated at the end of every month. So these profit charts we'll show throughout this video don't reflect last weekend's profits, which were pretty solid. So if we take a look at our bets from last week, we had Montana De La Rosa to beat Ariane Lipski. This was our biggest bet of the week. Obviously, we got in super early on this one before De La Rosa's odds got absolutely destroyed. I thought Montana De La Rosa was free money territory. She turned out to be, which is why we researched this one nice and early. De La Rosa did exactly what we expected her to do. Took Lipski to the ground, dominated her from top position, and eventually got the stoppage. So big shout out to you, De La Rosa. That was a huge winner for us. Then we bet on Marcin Tybura to beat Walt Harris. Another big performance and another situation where this fight played out exactly how we thought it would. We knew Walt Harris would come out very, very hard, but we also knew with how tough Tybura is and how much he's improved defensively, there was a pretty good chance that he could weather that early storm, drag Harris later into the fight when Harris starts to slow down a little bit, and then put him in a bad position on the ground and finish him. That is exactly what happened. The only difference with this is that how we kind of expected the whole fight to go ended up playing out in a much shorter space of time, where we saw Harris come out super hard in round one, Tybura weather that storm, then take Harris down in round one and get the finish. I thought that Harris would have maybe paced himself a little bit better in the first with how bad he gassed in his last two fights, and then we'd see Tybura kind of do in the second and third round what he did in the first. But I'm not complaining. Tybura came through for us in a big way. Shout out to you, Marcin. Next bet, we had a loser, our only loser on these pre-fight bets, Laureano Staropoli to beat Roman Dolidze. Staropoli just let us down like really, really, really badly here. It was very frustrating watching this fight. Dolidze was such an easy stylistic matchup for him. Obviously, if you guys were in on the fight research session, you'll know this. Dolidze just a very low level guy, very average grappler, just low level everywhere. And in the past, we've seen Staropoli fight at a high pace for 15 minutes. He's very aggressive. He was very dangerous standing. Pretty good takedown offense. Hard to take down and hold down. And for whatever reason, he just allowed Dolidze to hold him against the cage in that body lock position. What was particularly frustrating for me about this performance is that it was a really, really easy fight for Staropoli. And he showed that by how well he did when he actually opened up, right? When he opened up, he put Dolidze in a lot of trouble. I wouldn't have expected a guy like Staropoli to flake out and not show up. I mean, let's call an egg an egg. There will be some people out there that don't really understand the sport of mixed martial arts who will be saying it was Dolidze's size, it was too much for Staropoli. It's such a dumb thing to say. you know, Staropoli could have won this fight easily, but the version of Staropoli we got on Saturday isn't the same version that we saw against Tim Means, Muslim Salikov, or Thiago Alves. I really didn't think that this guy would flake because he was coming into this matchup on the back of a 2-fight losing streak. So, you know, if he would have lost, if he would have got himself knocked out or outworked, I could understand. But to just accept being held against the cage in that body lock position for so long, gifting a win to Delidze, was just very strange because obviously if you lose 3 fights in a row, you know, 9 times out of 10 the UFC will release you. So by Staropoli putting in that kind of performance, he basically just fired himself. What was really, really frustrating about the performance was that Staropoli knew what he should have done in the positions Delidze was putting him in terms of every time Delidze took him down, he would easily scramble over to the cage, which is the first sign that Delidze's size wasn't a factor. If Delidze's size was a factor here, Staropoli wouldn't have been able to scramble over to the cage as easily as he did. You know, you go back and watch it, every time Delidze got a takedown, Staropoli scrambled over to the cage like he literally had a teenager on his back. And then when they were in the position against the cage where Delidze was kind of holding on with that body lock from back control, obviously all Staropoli needs to do there is turn into Delidze. And every time he committed to turning into Delidze, Delidze actually saw his grip broken and Staropoli was able to get his back off the cage. But he just didn't do enough of it. He just stayed in the same position for ages. So I always use the analogy of the fact that, you know, we're not betting on robots and this isn't Robot Wars. You know, we can't control how a fighter shows up and performs on fight night, and this is the biggest risk to us in betting. This matchup should have been an absolute cakewalk for Staropoli. You know, once again, Delidze showed how low level he was in this matchup, and for whatever reason, Staropoli just he just wasn't there mentally. You know, like GSP said, fighting is 90% mentally, 90% mental. You could see just for whatever reason Staropoli didn't want to be in there, or he didn't want to perform. I don't know what was up with him. It was very, very strange. But it is what it is. That's the biggest threat to our betting performance. Fighters that don't show up. It happens a lot. It is what it is. But frustrating that we had to take an L there, because that was a great stylistic matchup for Staropoli. Then obviously bounced back big with a very nice cheeky winner on Ponzinibbio. Took 2 units on Ponzinibbio at 2.10. And what was great about this fight is that we learned a lot about both guys in this matchup, because, you know, two of the narratives, or two of like the theories within our community going into this matchup. First of all was Ponzinibbio may be shot after such a long layoff and after all the health issues that he's had. The second narrative would be that Beza wouldn't be able to deal with Ponzinibbio because Beza's boxing defense is very poor and he doesn't react very well to being pressured. Since Ponzinibbio is a great boxer and a good pressure fighter, naturally Ponzinibbio was going to be a difficult stylistic matchup for Beza. That's why we bet Ponzinibbio. What was very, very, very cool about this matchup is that both guys gave us tons of information that we can use to bet their fights moving forward. So the first thing we learned about Ponzinibbio is that he's definitely not shot. We know this guy has a granite chin, an amazing gas tank, very difficult to take down and hold down, great boxing, he's very good everywhere. Wasn't that long ago that Ponzinibbio was being talked about as being, you know, a future champion. He was a top 5 welterweight. And he's only 34 years old, so he's not that old. He's no spring chicken, but he's not that old either. What I saw from Pons on Saturday was that he's definitely not as sharp as he used to be. You know, going back 3-4 years, Ponzinibbio would have absolutely smoked a guy like Beza. There's no way Beza would have had as much success as he did in the first half of the fight. However, Ponzinibbio showed that there's still enough there to give most guys in the top 15 of the welterweight division a lot of trouble. I say most guys. Most guys he's going to give a lot of problems to because he's reasonably good everywhere. The main thing that I've seen change about Ponzinibbio is that throughout his career, if you check his record, this guy was basically indestructible. One of the reasons why we bet on Ponzinibbio, because of how tough he was, how difficult he was to put away. If we look at his record, he's had 32 pro fights, and he's only ever been finished twice in those 32 fights. You know, once by Lorenz Larkin, and then in his last fight against Li Jingliang. So we know he's incredibly durable, and just has an amazing chin, right? Ponzinibbio built a career off being able to stand right in front of his opponent, bait them into reckless exchanges, and using head movement and footwork to get the better of those exchanges. Beza wobbled Ponzinibbio a couple of times in this fight, which is a huge sign to me that Ponzinibbio has lost a step. He's not as sharp as he used to be, but he's certainly still capable of holding his own against most guys, like I say, in the top 15 of the welterweight division. Most guys, not all guys, most guys he's going to do pretty well against. So, yeah, we learned that Ponzinibbio's not done. You know, he's certainly got a lot more to give, but he's definitely not as sharp as he was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but still enough there to give guys like Miguel Beza hell, and we saw that. We also learned a lot about Miguel Beza. One of the reasons, or the main reason why we bet on Ponzinibbio here, was because Beza doesn't react well to being pressured. His boxing defense is very bad, and he's just not very effective at landing strikes while moving on the back foot. We didn't see any of that here. Beza looked outstanding in the first half of this fight. Did a really good job staying on his bike, circling away from Ponzinibbio, not allowing Ponzinibbio to trap him against the cage, and also did a superb job of disrupting the rhythm of Ponzinibbio by hammering that lead leg, which also set up his leg kicks and his power right hand, which he used to really hurt Ponzinibbio in this matchup. He just did a fantastic job. And, you know, I think Beza's like 26, 27 years old. He's improving at a ridiculous rate. He's training at a really good gym at MMA Masters with the likes of Ricardo Lamas and Colby Covington. It's a very underrated gym in Florida. He has improved exponentially since his fight against Matt Brown. He's not the same guy that fought Matt Brown. Did a much better job of dealing with the pressure of Ponzinibbio. I thought he looked fantastic. And this is one of those fighters, for me, where even though he lost, in my eyes, Beza's stock went up. I'm a lot higher on Beza now than I was before this fight. Didn't rate Beza that highly before this matchup because of those issues with his boxing defense. But he moved extremely well in the first half of this fight. And I could tell you right now, there aren't many guys that would be able to deal with the kind of damage that Ponzinibbio dealt with in the first half of that matchup and keep coming forward, keep using his boxing and footwork to get inside. Like, at the end of the day, Miguel Beza's a young lion that just wasn't quite ready for a test like Ponzinibbio. It was a big step up in competition, huge step up for Beza. But I honestly think Beza's going to be really, really, really good. For 26, 27 years old, he's crazy good. So this was one of those amazing matches where we learned loads about both guys. And again, I'll always use this analogy. We're not betting on robots. That version of Miguel Beza is nothing like any other version of Beza we've ever seen. He's improving exponentially. And now every time Beza fights, we've kind of got to weigh in the fact that we won't really know what to expect from him because of how much better he's getting every time we see him. So I love what Ponzinibbio did. I love what Beza did. Fuck people that put too much stock on win-loss records. Beza is legit, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how good he looks in his next fight. Hopefully the UFC slow it down a little bit and, you know, start to give him maybe some easier matchups. I think Ponzinibbio is too big of a step up too soon. Hopefully they don't throw him to the wolves too early on in his UFC career and they slow it down a little bit because I think he could be an excellent fighter. And then the final loose bet that we had was a bet on Gregory Rodriguez to beat Dusko Todorovic. We took Rodriguez small, a 1 unit bet at odds of 2.30. I didn't want to go too big on him because he was taking the fight on short notice and it was his UFC debut. Even though we'd fought 2 weeks earlier than that in LFA, the end of the day, UFC debut is still scary. Again, we're not betting on robots. Guys can freeze with performance anxiety and underperforming their debut. But Gregory Rodriguez didn't. He looked absolutely fantastic and just outclassed Todorovic in every single aspect of MMA. He outgrappled him. He outstruck him. He looked fantastic in his debut. And I think Rodriguez is definitely one to watch, particularly because he's in a weight class that is a little bit thin on talent. And because he trains at a fantastic gym at Stanford MMA. And at 29 years old, he's pretty young as well for the division. So like, we got to give ourselves a pat on the back, man. An epic performance from us. We did fantastically well. The hard work pays off. It's like Dale says, man. Dale's in my live betting group. Hard work's undefeated, and the results are showing it. I mean, look at this profitability chart. And with last week's profits for loose bets, it's going to jump up to here somewhere. And we're still very, very early on in the month. So I'm fucking delighted with how things are going. And our only loss on loose bets was because a fighter just didn't show up. You know, when the only losses you're taking are when a fighter just doesn't perform anything like they have in the past, it's not on you. Like, we did our job. We researched the fight between Staropoli and Dolidze. We identified Staropoli was a tremendous bet. but we can't, we can't do anything about the fact that he just didn't show up. So when our only losses are due to fighters flaking, that's a fucking very, very good sign. So let's look at our overall profit and loss from these bets. We went 1.3 on 1.3 on Rodriguez, 2.2 on Pons, 1.3 on Taibura, and 1.59 on De La Rosa. Take away a 2-unit loss on Staropoli, so almost 4.5 units of profit. Not bad. We also had a 3-unit tight bet. I haven't updated this. A 3-unit tight bet on Montana De La Rosa. Just calculate this. 3-unit tight bet on Montana De La Rosa, odds of 1.53. Again, we bet De La Rosa very, very early on because I knew her odds would get steamed. She was free money territory, and yeah, another rock solid tight bet from us comes through. Very, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so those are loose bets and tight bets. Let's go take a look at some of the bets in the lab. So if we switch over to the lab and we scroll down, let's take a look at the over-unders. So obviously this profitability chart is just madness. It's just stupid. It's got to the point where, like, I am so close to just fucking going ridiculously huge on these over-under bets because our win rate is insane. I think Matern was saying he calculated that our win rate on these bets were like 80%, something like that. And I don't see any sign of them slowing down. Obviously, this profitability chart is not updated with our profits from last week. But we went 2-0 again. And not only did we go 2-0, they were easy winners. 3-unit bet on Marcin Tybura, Walt Harris not to go the distance. That was a no-brainer. Like, these odds were so off. Such a good bet, man. And we went big and aggressive and it paid off. That fight ended in round 1, and with how fast Harris came out the gate, it was never in doubt that fight would end inside the distance. So that was another cool winner for us. And then we also had Ariane Lipski versus Montana De La Rosa not to go to a decision at underdog odds. The bookies are just so dumb. There's so much wiki capping that goes into these odds. They looked at it, they saw, 2 female fighters, lower weight classes, they saw that both girls have fought to a lot of decisions in the past and just assumed that the fight would go the distance. That's why we do fight research. We knew that De La Rosa would be able to take Lipski down and give her absolute fucking hell on the ground. And again, it was another easy winner. So another profitable week for over-under bets. And these over-under bets are just on fire, man. They're absolutely on fire. So we had last weekend 3.76 units of profit. So I'll just make a note of that. Now I haven't actually checked 4.38. So overall, I would say, like, the loose bets, the tight bets, the over-unders, they're kind of like our serious bets, right? There's a lot of different bets on the website. You've got our live in-play bets, which are the very cream of the crop, the safest of the safest, the best performing, the absolute cash cow. They're at the very top. Then underneath that, you've got the loose bets, the tight bets, and the over-unders. And then underneath that, you've got your even money bets, main event picks, and props, which I put a lot less emphasis on. So across over-unders and loose bets, we actually went 8 units of profit last weekend. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. And like Dale says, man, hard work pays off. Hard work's undefeated, and we'll keep researching our balls off, and we'll keep grinding out these kind of profits, and nothing can stop us, boys. Like, compound interest is just gonna fucking take us to the moon. Like, we've got a long history of making money betting on MMA, and now the lab is just taking things to another level. We're going to absolutely crush. I mean, we're already halfway through 2021. We've also crushed. So I need to stop talking about it being a big year. It's already a big year, but it's going to get 10 times better. I could feel it. It's going to be a massive summer for us. And then if we take a look at the even money bets, I don't actually know how we did on even money bets. So of course, if you're new to the community, if you're not familiar with even money bets, we've got an explanation as to what they are here. It's basically where, gun to head, I pick a winner in every single fight in the even money odds range, with the rationale being that irrespective of any mathematical edge that a betting site might have, our knowledge of MMA and our ability to gamble effectively will outweigh any mathematical edge that a betting site has. Therefore, if we pick a winner in every single even money matchup, over the long term we can beat the bookies and grind out a profit. And the profitability chart shows that that's exactly what we're doing. Over the last year, we're up around 20 units on these kind of bets, and we will continue to pump out profits on these kind of bets because we've proven that we have a big edge in these even money bets. So let's take a look at our profit and loss for last week. So we went with Ponzinibbio, we've now won. We already spoke about that fight. Staropoli, we lost. We've already spoken about that fight. Rodriguez won. We've already spoken about that fight. And Augusto Sakai that lost. So what's very annoying, obviously you'll see asterisks next to Sakai, asterisks next to Garbrandt. And as you can see, if ever you see asterisks around the name, it just means that it is, in my eyes, a true 50-50 fight. By the nature of this experiment, I have to put a pick in, but what the asterisks mean is that I'm not at all confident. I didn't really feel at all confident Sakai would win. I just kind of went dog or pass and threw him in, exactly the same as with Garbrandt. So annoying that was what tipped us into roughly break even on these even money bets, but that's the nature of the experiment, man. And sometimes when I can't pick a winner and it's 50-50, sometimes we'll get lucky and win them. So let's see what our overall profit and loss would be. I probably shouldn't use a calculator. If this is quite clear, it's going to be 0.4 units. So not bad, 0.4 units, pretty good. I also want to let you guys know that obviously the rules of the lab, as detailed up here somewhere in this explanation, is that when an experiment reaches a very good sample size, these bets, if they prove themselves to be profitable over a decent sample size, they then graduate into the official betting tip section of the site. That magic number is 200 bets. 200 bets, pretty good sample size. So we're now right on the brink of hitting that 200 bet sample size. You can see that these even money bets, we've got 197 bets in the even money database to make up this profitability chart. So what that means is after UFC 263, or maybe the next event after that, you will see these bets move into the betting tip section of the site because they've proven themselves over the long term to be profitable. Final type of lab bet that we need to talk about is the main event picks. This is the only type of bet on the website that is not profitable. Every other type of bet on the website, from in-play live bets, loose bets, type bets, even money bets, over-unders, props, everything's profitable across the board. Main event picks are the only type of bet that let the side down. And this experiment is very, very similar to the even money bets, where I have to pick a winner in every main event. I just have to. And that's why I think this experiment doesn't perform very well, because I'm quite often forced to pick fighters that I just don't think are very good bets, but because of the nature of this experiment, I have to pick someone. And I think because of that, that's why it doesn't perform well. Of course, we've already spoke. Sakai was my pick. I didn't feel great about it. I didn't want to bet him, but that's the way it goes, man. That is the way it goes. But hopefully we can turn this experiment around. It's only a year old, plenty of time to turn the tables. So pre-fight betting across the board went really, really, really good. And obviously we got a big event this weekend, UFC 263, Adesanya versus Vettori. I've already started researching this card, and I'm really, really confident we're going to be able to dig up some more strong positions and grind out another profit this weekend. Let's take a look at the bets we haven't covered. So prop bets we didn't cover. Prop bets were a disaster. They performed very, very bad. But I do make it quite clear that I hate prop bets. Like, full disclosure, I don't even bet these props. Prop bets are just, a way for people that like to bet on every fight, to bet a little bit of money to get a potentially big payout. I would say props aren't really a serious kind of bet. They're more for people that want to make watching fights a little bit more interesting, have some entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Gambling's a form of entertainment. Entire cities were built on gambling being entertainment. Atlantic City, Macau, Las Vegas. But I personally really dislike props, which is why this is the only type of bet on the site where you'll find disclaimers. I just dislike them, and I wouldn't recommend anyone bet props. But we are profitable on them over the long term. Of course, this profitability chart doesn't include last weekend's losses. But as you can see, we went for, let's take a look. We went for Zalal to win by submission. That missed wide. Delarose to win by submission. On another night, maybe. I mean, she was hammering She was hammering Lipski with ground and pound to try and bait Lipski into giving her back up so that she can sink in the rear naked choke. It's a tactic De La Rosa uses a lot, which is why we went for De La Rosa to win by submission. But Lipski was so helpless at defending herself on the ground, De La Rosa just thought, fuck it, I keep hammering her with ground and pound, so that bet lost. Rodriguez win by knockout at TKO. Man, he did wobble Todorovic a few times, but Todorovic showed how tough he was. Starpoli to win in round 2, missed wide. Tybura round 3, missed wide. Tybura round 2 wasn't a bad one, that. If Harris could have just survived a little bit longer, I think the probability of Tybura getting a finish there in round 2 was really high, and that would have been a nice juicy winner. Starpoli to win in round 3, missed wide. Starpoli to win by knockout TKO, missed wide. Ponzinibbio to win by knockout at TKO, missed wide. Tybura to win by knockout or TKO was our only winning prop on the night. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 take away 2.75. So minus 6 units for our biggest loss on props in a while. A little bit unlucky, came close to hitting a couple. De La Rosa and this Tybura to win in round 2. You know, pretty close, but that's the way prop goes, man. It's a game of inches, and you just miss things slightly, and you can you could take a huge loss, which is why I don't like them. You look at De La Rosa to win by submission and Tybura to win in round 2. Had either of those bets won, we would have either been in a small profit, small loss, or close to break even. So anyway, that's the way it goes. And then the final type of bet, which is kind of hilarious. The final kind of bet that we've got to talk about is live bets. Now, you guys that are not in the live betting group probably get fed up of me talking about live betting all the time and how great we do. Because let's be real, live betting is a cash cow for us. You know, we make big money in live betting. You know, if we look at the profitability chart, our live betting profits are absolutely insane. Look at this. Just no dips. Just nice, constant, steady profits. Just it's an absolute money train cash cow for us, right? Live betting's great, and we very, very rarely have to talk about losses in live betting because of obviously, you know, how profitable we are. We make a profit on the vast majority of weeks in live betting. But last weekend was absolute chaos. It was just a mess. It was one of those weekends where every time we went to lock in a bet, something crazy immediately happened after, which meant the odds got suspended or crashed, or some sites had the bets, some sites didn't have the odds. It was just chaos. Like, you know, early fights had low liquidity and some sites had odds, some didn't, some were suspended, some didn't. It was absolutely mental. And that's the way it goes in live betting sometimes, right? Like I always say to guys in the live betting group, live betting is just one of those things where you can't be a rigid thinker. You've got to be really fluid and you've got to go with the flow and be chill about things. You're never going to be able to lock in X bet at X amount of units for X odds. It's just not going to go that way. Odds are always changing. Odds vary from site to site. Odds suspend at a different rate from site to site. Liquidity and max bet limits are different from site to site. You know, you just got to accept that live betting is chaos. But at the end of the day, we make amazing profits and it's an absolute money train for us. So when we do have ugly nights like last weekend where the bets were all over the place due to the volatility in the odds and the way that liquidity seemed quite low on the betting sites, that, you know, it was just chaos. It was so chaotic that I didn't even know what official profit and loss that I should record on the like profit and loss database. Personally, I made a profit, and this was only because two of the sites that I had left odds up on two of the live bets we went for at underdog odds for a very long time. So I was able to hammer those two underdogs and end the night up quite big. I almost doubled one of my account balances. But obviously, if you didn't have those two websites, or the websites you did have, you know, had odds available for our losers and not our winners, you would have had a bad night. How you performed on Saturday night really would have come down to what betting sites you had access to, how fast you were, and which country you lived in. Like I say, personally, I made a profit, but I know a lot of you didn't. So what I did was I created a poll on the website, and after the event, I put the link in the live betting group, and I said, I want you guys to tell me what your profit and loss was tonight, and whichever number gets the most votes after like an hour or two. I only made it an hour or two so that people that aren't in the live betting group didn't come and kind of fuck with the poll. Whatever number in here gets the most votes, that is the number that I will record in the profit and loss database, which, as you can see, ended up being -2 units. If we scroll down, yeah, -2 units, just because that was the number that got the most votes. So yeah, it was a chaotic night, total write-off. It was a mess. Hopefully it'll be better this week though. It's just one of those things, you're going to run into a shitty event once in a while. There's not a lot you could do about it. But that is pretty much it, man. I think on the whole, pretty good night. Pretty good night. You know, gotta give ourselves a pat on the back. Live betting is absolutely crushing at the moment. Pre-fight bets absolutely crushing at the moment. And we got another big event this week, UFC 263. And I'm sure we're going to have another big weekend, man. Like I say, there's no reason why this money train won't keep choo-chooing. Every single week, we wake up on a Monday, we sit in front of the computer, and we chain ourselves to, or I chain myself to this desk, and we just research all week right up until Friday night. And it pays off, man. The profitability charts show it pays off. Every single bet on the site, every serious bet on the site, live, loose, tight, over-unders, they're all crushing. And they're going to keep crushing, man, because unfortunately for Denise Coates, I will never stop working hard. So she's fucked because there's nothing she can do. Anyway, with that, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I'm going to now go and do some fight research to hopefully punch Denise very hard in the vag again this weekend. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Love you, boys. And I will see you all very soon. Nice one, guys. Bye.